Part one, who the fuck did I marry?
No, seriously, part one, who the fuck did I marry? I am trying to be a little bit less psycho on TikTok because obviously I had my little meltdown the other day and that was probably like enough for this week. But when I opened my phone today to a million texts from all my friends of this TikTok that Clinton Kane had posted saying, what did he say? He said like, when I've been over the relationship for 2 years and she just can't stop yapping about it, which first of all, hilarious. Like, no shit, I can't stop yapping. But the nerve. Now, obviously, we broke up 2 years ago, okay? And that was a very, very different time in my life. I was, first of all, unmedicated, okay? And that is a very, very important factor in this story because I get so many comments that are like, Brooke, what on earth were you going through? And I agree. I really don't know. That was a different girl. I was bamboozled. Now, I get a lot of comments about his appearance and the way he shakes, okay? And those are two things that I'm gonna leave off limits for my story time because I feel like that's low-hanging fruit and it's obvious it doesn't even need to be addressed. Believe it or not, that was not even really the problem. The fact of the matter is I ended up in a relationship with this man because I was a fan, honestly. I knew of him because of his music. I loved his song Chicken Tendies or whatever. Tana and I would literally blast it on a loop at our old house and like we were obsessed with it, okay? So randomly one day I get a DM from this artist. It's Clinton Kane. And I remember telling Tana like, oh my God, like how funny, he just messaged me. And he starts just like asking me questions, whatever, and he asks if I want to go to dinner. And I'm like, I'm looking at his profile and I don't know if I want to go to dinner. Okay, but I'm replying anyway, and he asks, he's like, what about tomorrow? I'll fly you to Vegas. I go, what the fuck? I didn't know he lived in Vegas. So I say no, and that's the end of that. Okay, part two, who the fuck did I marry? Like I said, he lived in Vegas, so I obviously was not gonna go to dinner with him because he's a stranger, okay? But he persisted, all right? Of course, of the next few months, he would slide up on all my stories, message me constantly. Some would call him obsessed, honestly. But what am I gonna do? I'm not gonna fly to meet a stranger, okay? But one day I get a DM where he says, hey, I have a show tomorrow in LA. Like, would you wanna come? And again, I loved his music. So I was like, absolutely, I will definitely come because it's like, that's so much less pressure. I don't wanna go to dinner with this man. Like I said, I saw his profile, but I wanna see the show. So I ask Phoebe to come with me and we get ready to go, okay? Remember so specifically the outfit that I wore because again, this guy has been messaging me so much online that I'm like, I know he like loves me. So I wore the ugliest outfit you could find. Like BB knows, I said it to her. I was like, I just want like to look as unattractive like to him as possible because I just don't want that to be the vibes. All right. She and I go to dinner and we go to the show. It's amazing. Okay. He was amazing. I don't know what's happened since then, but he was slaying at the time. After the show, we go upstairs. I think he was at like El Rey Theater or something. And everybody's like mingling. A few of my friends were there. I remember and Cover were there. Markel was there. One of my best friends, Justin Horowitz, was there. Like I was like mingling with friends and he like came over to me and started talking to me, whatever. And we like hit it off. And I'm gonna tell you guys something that you might not believe, but he looked really good. Honestly, he was way taller than I thought and he had a really cool outfit on. And I was like, you know what? He's not as bad as I thought he was, okay? So we end the night, I go home, nothing happens, and he texts me after the show and he's like, would you wanna come back tomorrow? And I had an amazing time. I like loved the show, so I was like, you know what? I'll go back. Amari also loved his music, so I texted Amari and I was like, would you wanna come? Would you wanna come with me to see Clinton Kane tomorrow? And whatever. I bring Amari the next day, okay? Same show. We do the same thing after, and then Amari and I go back on his bus, okay? And honestly, we had such a good time. Like, we're like cracking up on the bus. We're with a bunch of friends. Amari's having the best time. I'm having the best time. He's funny. He's cool. He's like charismatic. I'm like, you know what? Like, maybe he's not that bad, okay? We all get off the bus and go to the club. We all get super drunk, and me and him end up like making out. We're like very much together at the club, and that was the start of something very horrible. Okay, part three, who the fuck did I marry? All right, so after the club, he and I went alone to a little diner in LA called Mel's Diner. It's 24 hours. You can go after the club, get fries, shakes, whatever. And he and I order literally every single thing on the menu, and we sit there for like 4 hours and just talk, okay? And this is the point where he tells me about what had happened to him in the year prior, all right? This would have been, I guess, 2020, like during COVID, okay? He tells me his mom, his dad, and his brother all died in the same year, okay? Which is fucking horrible. Like, obviously just unimaginable. So I'm like blown away. I knew that his mom had died because he had openly talked about like how one of his songs was about her and stuff, but I had no idea about the rest of his family. So I was like, holy shit, first of all. And I feel like I completely changed my opinion about him because I'm like, at this point, I'm thinking he's just like this weirdo sliding into my DMs, and now he's very like human to me because I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe you could overcome something like that. Like, that's insane. This is very important to the story, okay? Because I need you guys to understand how I ended up in this scenario, all right? And he starts telling me how he got into music. He's telling me how he was homeless and he would backpack around Europe, like literally sleep on benches and busk, like in parks, to make money. And he got discovered, whatever. And then obviously, I guess I'm in Love came out and he was really successful from that song. But I'm just looking at this guy like, I have never met anybody like you. Because first of all, I could never be touring a year after like that kind of extreme tragedy, first of all. Second of all, you would never catch me dead sleeping on a bench on purpose. So I was like, this guy's really like special. Okay, part 4, who the fuck did I marry? Okay, so we had this whole night at this diner. We talked forever. And I got to know a lot about him, okay? He told me all about how he had grown up in Australia, in Perth, Australia. He talked about how he grew up like super wealthy in like an 8-bedroom house on the beach in Australia. His mom was a pastor. He said she was a pastor at Hillsong United, which is like one of the biggest churches, I guess, in Australia. I don't know. He studied medicine, which I loved because I was like technically pre-med when I was in college also. I didn't graduate, but it doesn't matter. So I was like, oh my God, we have that in common. Like, he's like a really well-rounded, like amazing guy, okay? And like I said, he doesn't live in LA. So the next night he calls me and he's like, listen, I have a date planned for us. I'm picking you up at 8, whatever. And he does, okay? We go on this date. It's like a beautiful restaurant, whatever. We have the best time. We talk forever. We go to the beach, yada, yada. I go home. And the next day, he calls me and he says, I am so sorry and I'm so afraid to tell you, but I just got on set for my music video and I tested positive for COVID. Obviously, I had just like had this whole extravagant date with him the night before. I would 100% have COVID. We were like making out on the beach the whole night, which is like traumatizing but true. Okay, so I'm like, this man gave me COVID. And he's like, there's nothing I can do. I'm so sorry, but like, obviously we both have it. So I'm quarantining at the one hotel if you want to come and stay with me. So I was like, I mean, like, fuck, like I have COVID now. I have 2 roommates. Like, guess I gotta go. I don't know. Again, unmedicated. I show up to the hotel, okay? And I move in with the man.